Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Monir El Azzouzi from easymedicaldevice.com. And today we'll have a very, very special episode for the end of the year. It's not the same where we are talking about mainly regulation or education or whatever. I have with me a special guest that where we'll be really having a discussion of behind the scenes of podcasting because they are also doing a podcast and we wanted really to share some experience about that. So I have with me Claudia and Jorg. So Claudia, Jorg, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Hi, Monir.
Hi, Monir. It's such a pleasure to be here in the podcast recording together with you. It's really
Great.
something that we have never done before, to meet with a podcast expert.
And it's really great because, you remember we met in Berlin when there was the IMDRF meeting and there was also the Medics Day meeting. So I met with you and you proposed to me to make this kind of podcast of behind the scene. And I said, oh, really great. Let's do that for the end of the year. And it will be really awesome, I think, for the people that are listening. So for maybe the audience, so myself, for me, so Monir El Azzouzi, I'm the medical expert specialized in quality and regulatory affairs for medical devices. And we have this podcast that we are running every week where we are trying to educate people and doing all those activities. So just want to maybe you, Jorg, and you, Claudia, just to introduce yourself so that we have a better understanding of what you are doing also in the real life and the fact that, you have also a podcast and what is mainly the item about the podcast.
Jörg, do you want to start? We didn't.
No, Claudia, please start you.
Okay, then I will start. So I'm Claudia Daniel. I'm from Berlin. I'm working for Link Medical. We are a CRO and service provider for regulatory and pharma. And our main focus or main target market are the northern countries. Me personally, I studied physics. I have a PhD in biophysics. And after my time in academia, I started working in a startup company for medical devices in Berlin, which was a really great experience because within that very short time frame, I learned so much and the startup was really successful. So they were sold to Stryker a few years ago. And I worked in another startup company afterwards. And after that, I changed to Link Medical. And now I'm here working since 5 years, helping customers with everything that deals with regulatory or quality or sometimes even clinical evaluations.
Great. And you, Jorg?
Yeah, my name is Jörg. I'm in the late 40s, or also living in Berlin. And my background is in physical engineering with a focus on measurement technologies. I have more than 20 years professional experience in quality assurance, from microsystems technology to mechanical engineering. And now I'm a certified quality manager and employed for quality and risk management at SFM Hospital Products in Berlin since 2018, I think. And this is a legal manufacturer of medical devices in risk classes 1 and 2A. Yeah, and
Great.
that's I am.
a great experience. So as we said, you are also both doing a podcast. Can we just have a glimpse of what is this podcast? What exactly you are talking about, and who are the guests also that are coming to the podcast?
So basically, the purpose of our podcast, the name, it's Medizinprodukte Talk. So it could be translated to medical device talk. The purpose is only to satisfy our own curiosity. So for me, it's quite often that I work in certain fields and I have some questions where I really want to know some details. So questions that I have. And so we invite guests who have a bit more knowledge about those things. And we just ask them all the fundamental questions that we always wanted to know. And of course, we try to be as much as entertaining as we can. I mean, we know that we are also a bit nerdy, so our questions are much detailed, but we laugh a lot. So we currently had a podcast recording regarding usability, which will be published soon. There was so much laughing during this recording. So we really enjoyed it, to really have the possibility to talk to people. And if somebody external appreciates listening to our podcast, we appreciate that. But the purpose is really that we want to satisfy our own curiosity with the podcast.
Great. And you are doing that both, you, Jorg, and you, Claudia. So what is the synergy that you have during this podcast? Jorg, maybe?
Okay. Now I'm a bit of co-hosting in our podcast, and mainly I take care of the recording and the technical stuff.
So great. So the geek part is for you then, for all the different
And,
things.
and
So are
the
you
and the
putting some
post-production.
music sometime during the episode, or some elements, or
No, that's
no,
not.
no effects? Okay, great.
Some sound effects in between would be funny. Maybe we should tell a bit about the background of our podcast, where the idea came from. So Jörg and me, we are both members for the Deutsche Gesellschaft für Qualität, so the German Society for Quality, which is a German association dealing with quality, obviously. And there we have a local group in Berlin where we established our medical device talk. So we had really on-site meetings where we invited speakers to discuss certain things dealing with medical devices. Then the pandemic came and on-site meetings were not possible anymore. We held some webinars, and we always had the motivation to have really an exchange of information within the community. So not on to have a PowerPoint presentation and get some information. We all got a bit tired of things like that. And then after a few years, I mean, 1.5 years ago, we decided that a podcast might be the better thing, because then you're free from doing something in parallel. So I personally, really like listening to podcasts, but I'm always doing something like cleaning the window. It's much more entertaining when you listen to a podcast in parallel.
I can imagine, yeah. So yeah, I'm doing the same. So from my side, even before to start my podcast, I was listening to a lot of podcasts. Mainly, first was some leadership podcasts that were coming from the US, and then some marketing, digital marketing podcast, or personal development podcast, etc. Also during my commute from work. So each time it was not the radio that I'm listening, but it was more podcasts that I put there. So and yeah, after that, it was when we started the journey of Easy Medical Device. The idea was, okay, why don't we have also a podcast? And initially, what was more for replicating what we were educating people on. So we are creating some. I was creating some blogs, some videos also to try to educate people. And I say, okay, why don't I just also create a podcast? Because maybe people cannot read, or they don't want to read, or they cannot watch a YouTube video while they are jogging or while they are things. So maybe finding something that is more feasible to be done while you do a workout, cooking, or whatever. And then I say, okay, let's do podcasting. And the idea was mainly about how can I invite some people, as you said, also to share some information and to help to understand a certain topic. But yeah, this was mainly a journey where the idea was education in different types of formats. So the idea was, how can I educate people with as many formats as possible? And podcasting was one of them. And people were saying everywhere, oh, podcast is the new way to share information. So then my idea was, okay, let's start doing that. At the beginning, I was not. I had nobody to interview because nobody knew me, or nobody really knew the podcasting. So then I said, okay, let's do the first one alone. So I started the first one just by talking alone. And then when I started to convince somebody, then from there it started. Everybody wanted to come and wanted to join and wanted to be interviewed. So which was really really great. But yeah, it's a journey, to be honest. It's really a journey. But were you like did you find it difficult to start? Like, I should buy a super microphone. I should get a super this or that material or whatever. It was like, no, just let's take what is available and let's do it.
I think that was not difficult, because I mean, we anyway had invested already in a bit of techniques during all that webinar phase during the pandemic, and everybody was having online meetings. So I think there we had already the basic equipment, and we knew how important audio quality is. So I guess everybody know or had people in the team who did not have a proper microphone, so you were not able to really understand those people. To invite people was also okay, but sometimes it was I have to say, to be politically correct in what I'm saying, but I have to confess, it was harder to convince women to participate in the podcast. So currently we don't have the problem anymore because people know the podcast and they have kind of references. But at the beginning, when there was nothing available, they were all a bit shy, like, I'm not really sure if I want to participate. And it was easier to get guys like, we have a podcast and do you want to join? And there were really some people who said, yes, let's do that. I want to be the first guest. So they didn't have a problem with that.
No, it's great. And you, Jorg, did you find it also difficult to start, or I mean, it was really?
No, I didn't find it difficult. It was quite simple. I find the first take of our pilot was in presence with Claudia alone in her it's a room for a band to
Okay. With insonorization, with some kind of soundproofing.
I think rehearsal or so is the correct word. And there was a little digital equipment on board, and that was. And in the follow episodes, the technical invention was more and more, and I think now we have a relative founded desk.
Great.
To work.
I have to say, the first recording was really funny because the setting was really strange. I mean, our rehearsal room is under a church, so it's really in the basement and it has no windows and it has all that isolation stuff, this foam around us, and it has a pretty dark atmosphere, and it's not that everything is new, so it's also a bit chaotic. And Jörg and me, we were sitting at a table that was super old, and it kind of looked like one of those talk shows from the 1970s. So that was really, really funny. I'm really happy that you can't hear it, how it looked like, but maybe in the future, at one day, we should publish basically a picture on how we were sitting there.
No, I think it's always important to get some memories, some pictures, some history of how all this started, because yeah, it's always important to look back. But yeah, what is important. I mean, I had a lot of people that says to me that, oh, I want also to start a podcast, but it's difficult. I need this, I need that. I mean, I tell them, with what we have actually as a technology, even our iPhone can record our voices and then you can make a podcast out of it. It's no need to have like super expensive material, super expensive rooms or whatever. You can be on your bedroom and try to just record. If you just do the voice, I'm doing video and voices because I want to expand the view for many different media, so which is important. But for people that just want to do the voices, you can just record that and make that. I had some um, I had some guests that were here and saying, "Oh, should I isolate myself? Should I not make noise? If there is my kid that enters the room, is it a problem, etc., etc." I said, "No, it's fine. We should make it like a living. It's like a normal life. We are not talking here about a polished episode with everything should be scripted and this and that." I was telling, even if you are having a coffee and you want to drink a coffee, drink your coffee, etc. So the idea is more about making it a bit more natural and cool, instead of saying, "Oh, you should be really perfect." And it's also what I'm trying to share also on my podcast, to say mainly quality and regulatory people are not just serious people that are not laughing, that are just reading text of regulations, and it's like evil people that are here to make your life difficult, whatever. No, we are funny. We are, I mean, I try to be funny. So yeah, we are to making it like that. But I find a lot of people that say, "Oh, it's difficult because material wise, how to speak, how to be having the right environment, etc." But for me, I find it sometimes as excuses to really push that. Or when I will buy a better microphone, I'll do that. I mean, if I show you my microphone that cost maybe 10 euro in Amazon, it was really crappy things. Even the sound was really bad. But at the end, I was able to share the sound, or what I wanted to say. I had some people that were complaining on the comments, say, "Oh, your sound is really bad," or whatever. I say, "I know." But I don't have the money to buy a expensive microphone or whatever. So it's mainly the idea also. So start, do it, and try to make it yeah, as fun as you can, if I can say, or as enjoyable as you can.
But we forgot at the first part to introduce you. So we also want to know a bit about you. What is your background? How did you come to all the regulatory part?
So mainly, I am. I wanted to be first. I mean, after high school, I wanted to be first a surgeon, a doctor. So there was those. I don't know if you had that in Germany, but we had those series like Emergency Room. That was at our time a long time ago. With I think it was the first time we saw also George Clooney as an actor there, etc. So it was this. So I was looking at this kind of series. I said, I want to be a surgeon. I save life of people, etc., etc. So it was like this kind of things. So when I went to the university, I went to the doctor medicine university. But in France, you have some kind of, we call it numerus clausus. So you have only one certain number of people that can pass the exam. Even if you are a good person, if your score is great, it's just a certain number that can pass to the next level. So I tried and I made 2 years there, and you can have only two years. You cannot make a third year at the medicine university. So then I tried and I lost. So I was not able to be a surgeon. So then after that, I find that there was a biomedical engineering school that was opening, which is biomedical, so also for hospitals, for surgeons, etc. So I said, okay, maybe it's an alternative. So I went there. I wanted then to be a research and development guy to create a lot of the next medical device that will be on the market. And the last year of my nearly the last year, so I had to do an internship. So mainly I wanted to make an internship, and I wanted to find an internship that was really great for me, but I find nothing, really nothing. At the end, it was like, give me whatever. I just need an internship to finalize my study. So give me whatever you want, and nothing was available. So I went to one of my professor, and he gave me the name of a company with call them on my behalf and tell them that you need an internship, and they will give that to you. And I even recorded the podcast with this professor talking about it, because he's also on the medical device field. And I remember during the podcast, we remember this moment where he gave me also this opportunity with this internship. So then this internship was in quality and regulatory affairs. I was like, oh no, God, I don't want that. It's because I didn't really know what this was. I mean, I just hear people say, oh, it's just creating procedures, signing documents. It's like bureaucracy, a lot of papers, etc. So I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. But I said, I have to make my study. So then let's do that. And then when I went there, my mentor at this internship was really great. He explained to me everything, and then I discovered that no, quality and regulatory affairs, you are creating really the law of a company. You are defining what are the rules on how they can do this, can do that, and you are here really at the center of the company, and you are the one that nearly verifies that everything is okay, that you go in the right direction. You can help the people to move things on the right direction. You can register the products. You can make the certification, etc. It says, and I discovered this world. I read for the first time the Medical Device Directive 9342 EC. It was like, wow, what's this thing? And then it was like mainly a moment where I said, I want to do that, the rest of my life, I can say. So then from there, I only find jobs in quality and regulatory affairs, so in different companies. And finally, I opened Easy Medical Device, and I'm doing regulatory quality and regulatory affairs for my customers. So this is mainly how I really arrived to this kind of position. But it was really by luck, by chance. It was not my career was not at the beginning. Oh, I want to do quality or regulatory affairs. No, not at all.
I think for me it's the same. I also ended up by accident. I don't know, Jörg, for you, if you had a plan to be a quality manager.
Oh, in the start of the career, I think not. It was a way, a long way to become a manager, a quality manager.
But Monir, how is it? Did you have ever experienced super funny stories? So I feel personally, whenever I talk to customers about their notified bodies, everybody has a funny story to tell about auditors from notified bodies or in general. Is there something that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if I already told that in any podcast episode that I have made before because people are asking me sometimes those questions. One of my funny story with auditors were that I was working for a French company. So it's a manufacturing plant with French workers, etc. And we had an auditor that came from Germany. He speaks only German, so we speak English together mainly. And the idea for him was mainly to go to the manufacturing plant and visit and check everything. And he had some questions, and he said to me, "I want to ask the question to this guy." So the worker. So we arrived to the worker, but the guy speaks English or German, and the French guy speaks only French. So then at the end, it's like I will be translating. So he asked the question. I translate the question to the guy. The guy is answering the question, but he says something really crappy. I say, guys, what are you talking about here? It's crappy. So I take what he said to me, I modified it to say exactly the right thing to the auditor in the English language because I said, oh, great. It's like that. I was like, oh my God. But it was a funny one because maybe at that moment I say, it's like a bet mainly because it's risky to do this kind of thing, so it's like a bet, but at the end it was like, yeah, I mean, it's just a small thing. It's just that he's saying something stupid. When people, you are training them, you tell them what to say, what to do, how to behave, and at the end they are still, it's like kids. I mean, I have kids, so you say to them something and 5 minutes after they forgot what you have told them, so it mainly that. So this is the point. Say, oh, he forgot again what I told you. For example, do you know about quality policy or things like that? Oh yeah, I know about that. It is where is it? I have no clue where it is. Okay, so guys, I told you it's on the quality manual, etc. I mean, but now, yeah, this is mainly the thing where I was really a bit proud of me also. So I saved from a non-conformity by doing this kind of thing, but I don't recommend don't do that. Don't do it at all. But I was young at that moment. It was really my at the beginning of my career, my first real job. But yeah, it's really the moment where I'm remembering always. Oh, guys, yeah, it can work. It's really a bet, but it can work. Yeah.
Do you know Shaun the Sheep, that series for kids?
Sorry?
Shaun the Sheep. It's a sheep that is living on a countryside. I think it's from the UK.
Maybe,
And there's
I
a
don't know.
farmer, and the farmer, he never takes care about the sheep, but he has a dog who is responsible for taking care of all the
I
sheep.
think I see that it's like some I think I know that. Yeah.
And I think the dog is basically, he's like the quality manager of the team.
Exactly.
Whenever I watched it, I feel that, yeah, I completely understand his pain.
Exactly. No, it's exactly that. So it's mainly the pain where, yeah, you know what to do, you know how to do it, but they don't understand, if I can say. So it's mainly this kind of situation. Yeah. In terms of I had also to ask you in terms of because you told me about the episodes that you have with the people that you are inviting. So was there a certain point, like some episodes where you say, oh, it was a great episode, you learned a lot, and it was really a great moment, and it's one of my best episode ever?
Yes. So there are a lot. And I had the feeling that after each episode, we felt that this now was the best episode. But then the next episode comes, and then we feel that this is now the best one.
Okay.
But the first best one that we had was when we discussed with an HR manager from TÜV Süd.
Okay.
So who knows about all the background information, how TÜV Süd hires auditors. That was pretty interesting. It was a pretty good exchange. And then in the summer, we talked a bit about sustainability with a company called Polyneers. And we talked about plastics and how plastics could be sustainable, how medical device industry could benefit from that. That was also really great. And it was a really nice exchange. And recently, we made a recording about usability that is going to be published soon. And this was just laughing half of the time, I would say, because the guests, they were also really, really funny.
Hey, just a second. Do you need a EU, Swiss or UK representative? Then choose Easy Medical Device. We can represent you and also become your importer. Contact us at eo@easymedicaldevice.com.
My two favorites are the first episode, the first real episode. It's the first with the first episode with a guest called "Quality is Sexy," and And this name was displaced by the podcast platform, and we must take a beep.
Okay. I can imagine, yeah.
So that was then quality is point. And
Okay.
the other episode I remember in I have in a good remembrance was the episode with a notified body from a garage.
Oh, garage. Okay.
There is a notified body in Austria called Claudia. Do you know the name in quality? It's in relation with Quality Austria, QMD Services. I think it's the name of this notified body, and it's the first notified body in Austria for IVD. And it was a very interesting episode to hear to become a notified body.
No, great. Yeah. So yeah, from my side mainly, um, I had some great episodes, but it was also um, great moments of aha moments, some haha moments, if I can say so. Mainly before doing podcasting or these kind of things, I had also some people that I would admire or I would look at and say, oh, I like this person, I like what he's saying, what he's doing in the quality and regulatory affairs field mainly, because you see them also everywhere on the social media or everything. So I say, oh, it's great people. And my point was mainly when I started podcasting, I said, do you think I can invite them? Do you think they will accept? Do you think they will come? Do you think? So one of them is, for example, Eric Volbrecht. I was following. He's a lawyer in the Netherlands, specialized in quality and regulatory affairs for medical devices, and he had a blog talking about that, about all the changes in the regulation and everything. So I was following the blog and I was liking also the way he was creating the blog posts. It was funny. It was, yeah, I was really enjoying reading that, and I was finding sometimes like he's maybe going a bit far on some points, etc. But he makes it a bit sarcastic also sometimes. But I find this way of speaking or things really funny, but also different from serious regulators that we are looking and they are just trying to educate us on chapter 6 or 7 of this ISO, whatever. So I was more happy to listen to that, or also some people like Basil Akra from TÜV Sud also that were on the podcast. Some people that were coming but showing that quality and regulatory affairs can also be funny, can also be interesting. So I had great episode with Eric Volbrecht where we are laughing a lot also, where he was also sharing his his passion for some science fiction or some other things. So it was really a great moment also where I discovered that, oh, this podcast can also help me to meet people I admire or people where I look at and say, oh, they are great guys. It opens the door for some connections also, some discussions, which I think I would never had the opportunity to do if I didn't had a podcast like that. So it's the things that I was really also happy of when I do this, because you then meet people, you make connection with them, you ask them questions. Sometimes I ask questions to the people that I already know the answer. And the objective is not education of myself, it's education of the people that will be listening. So I try to ask a question about what they would ask this kind of person. And sometimes I invite people because I don't know about the topic. I'm not an expert on everything, so I try to know, but I don't know. So I said, let's have somebody coming, teaching me about some topic, but also teaching the others that are listening behind me also. And this is mainly the idea also of the podcast. So yeah, for me, this was really a door of entry to meet some really famous people in the area. And sometimes I'm also discovering that people that I'm also looking from far apart. So they know me and they know the podcast and they know the thing. I say, oh, really? You know what I'm doing? I say, oh, it's great. So this is also a thing that I'm really enjoying with some of the episodes that I'm doing. And yeah, I really appreciate the fact that this is really a door opener for some connections and which can help you also in the future. So it's also something interesting here.
Yeah, I also found it pretty interesting how the episodes that we have or the content that you discuss really helps me to understand better things that are attached to fields that I'm working with. So for example, I'm giving a lecture at the university within an MBA module, which is for then quality and regulatory of medical devices. And the last lecture that I gave, I realized that a lot of topics that I'm addressing in that lecture, we also addressed in the podcast. And I could fill up a lot of information just by referencing, yeah, we had this discussed in the podcast. And so to give some of the soft information that are not the hard facts, but some background information. And that helps a lot. I think that's something that comes with experience anyway when you work in a certain field. And I think if you work 20, 25 years in regulatory, then you will have a lot of those stories. But making the podcast or also listening to podcasts is just like you're accelerating the process a bit. You gather much more experience within a short time just by talking to people. And I found this so fantastic. I mean, that this is the opportunity that we have nowadays to really accelerate everything, meeting people that are not located at the same place. So, I mean, it's like you're located in Basel, we are located in Berlin. The moment that we could meet and really have an hour to have a chat in detail would not be possible without all the modern solutions.
Exactly, yeah. And this is the thing that is important, is also that what we are saying or talking about can be shared all over the world and not just at a small in the small area. And yeah, that can help more people. So what I'm also happy and mainly is the fact that so having a podcast is one thing, but getting also the feedback from people saying, "Oh, I listened to this podcast and this opened my vision of something, or I learned a lot of things, or it helped me to get a job." Also, I had some people that contact me and say, "Oh yeah, because I listened to few of your podcasts, I was able to answer the question of the person that was doing the interview, and he was even surprised that I knew something like that, because it's really a niche information, etc." So it was also this kind of moment where I was really happy to make what I'm doing here with the podcast, because it's not just to make it, it's really added value for some people, and it's providing really some support. And yeah, it's why I'm really happy to continue and to make the efforts to do all this. Yeah.
And I have to confess, you are also kind of an inspiration for our podcast, because when Jörg and me did our first webinars, I created an overview about podcasts that exist in the medical device field. And in that time, it were not that many, but your podcast already existed. So it kind of influenced us as well.
Great. Happy that it works also for you. But I tried also to convince a lot of people. So for example, Karandeep Badwal, which is also in the UK, we discussed a lot together. He was also part of my podcast. And I said to him, why don't you make a podcast also? And then he made also a podcast, not on the same topic as what I'm doing, but on other topics. But yeah, there are a lot of things like that where the idea is mainly, let's share the best practices and let's share with people, because it's what I'm saying. People are saying, oh, there is already a podcast, why should I make another one, etc. I say, yeah, there are also 10 bakeries in a country, in a city, and nobody goes to the same. They go to this one or this one or this one because they prefer maybe this bread that is better, or this cake that is better, etc. Each one is providing really his solution, his mindset, and I cannot satisfy everybody. So this is the point. So the one I'm satisfying, maybe you are not satisfying, and then etc. The rest. So mainly, it's why having a variety is also offering opportunities to people to listen the right things mainly.
But of course, I'm very curious also with the background information. Was there ever a fail or a funny background story that happened during the recording that the people that just listen to the podcast would never recognize?
Yeah, we have few, yes. One that comes to me now. It just I don't know if I cut it. No, I don't think I cut it during the recording. But we had Andreas Stenge from TÜV Sud on the podcast. He was in Japan, if I remember. I can't remember, but he was in Japan. Maybe he was talking about IVDR. And while we were recording, on the back, he was in his hotel room. On the back, we had the cleaning person that was opening the door. He was ringing and apparently nobody's opening. So then you open the door and enters, and we see the person in the back trying to do the things. So it was like, I was like, should we stop here and let the person go out and then we start again. I said, no, let's continue and do that. But it was a long time ago, so but I don't remember now if I cut it or not. But these are the moments where I like, because it's like we are not preparing anything. It's like we just record. What happens. If there is anything, we had also a lot of guests where they have their cats that pass by the camera, or we have a lot of things like that. Or I never had somebody with the kids that are just rushing in the room or whatever. I don't remember that. But yeah, we a lot of moments where for me it's live moments, so you should not cut that, you should not remove that, but these were really funny at the moment, because you are here to like, what should I do now? Should I make like nothing happened, or should I make like there is something and we should make? So it was really a funny moment at that point. But yeah, it's normal, so there is no kind of anything there. I had just also one guest, for example, that was listening again to the podcast after we record that, and say, oh, you listen at the 3.45 minutes of the podcast, there is a sound of somebody working on the march, can you remove that from the background? I said, even me, I have not noticed, and nobody will notice. What are you? I mean, it was like a bit strange thing, but I understand that people sometimes want things to be perfect and looking great, but for me, I prefer to make it more natural. And yeah, there is no like yeah, let's remove this small sound, or somebody a dog barking outside, so then what, should I remove any of the small sound that we hear? No. So it's why for me it was like, just record, just make it, and nobody complains about those small things. So it was but I prefer, this is the thing that I want also people to notice and maybe laugh of it and say, oh yeah, it was funny that moment where this person enters the room and nobody really made any sound or any noticed anything, so which was a bit funny. So this is great things also, so I like that.
But do you also listen to other podcasts?
So my first podcast in Quality and Regulatory Affairs was the one of Green Light Guru, when John Spear was doing that. Now it changed also, and to be honest, I had also no other moment to listen to all of those. I have also listened to few podcasts like the ones from Karen D. Badwal, also the ones from Mitch Robbins on the Quality and Regulatory Affairs for recruitment, or how to help those people that are trying to get recruited on that. Yeah, I try to listen to some, but to be honest, it depends on the topic of the podcast, and it's the same for me also. If you look at all the podcast I have, if you read the topics, you say, oh, this topic is not interesting for me, but this one is interesting, but this one is better, or this one is, no, I don't need to read that, so etc. We have topics on software as medical devices. If you don't have a software as medical device, if you don't do software as medical device, if you have no link to software as medical device, you will not listen to this episode at all. So this is also the idea, to get some variety that people are really looking at that. So it's why when I look at podcasts of others, I read what is the topic, and then I see, oh, it's really interesting. When we start to talk about AI, sometimes I'm interested because I'm sometimes on some AI projects. But when we start to talk about something that I know already, how to register a 510K in the US, I mean, I don't need to listen to this podcast. I know already how to do that. So it's not a problem. So it depends on the topic. And I think for me, also people that are listening to my podcast, also depends on the topic, because when you look now at the views or the metrics on the podcast, you see that, oh, this one didn't make too much and this one makes a lot, etc. But you can understand it's because this is niche topics. It's not like topic about million people, like you see a lot of my kids are watching a lot of YouTubers with the streamers, etc. and say, oh, it makes 1 million views, etc. And when you look at my video, it makes maybe 500 views, 600 views, so it's not like millions. But for me, 500 is great because it may be 500 companies. It's not like 500 individuals, 500 companies that are looking at that, which is a huge number already for medical device companies. So it's why we have to understand that we are in niche subjects. So we don't need to make millions of views. The objective is just with few views that we can impact the industry and impact what people are doing mainly. But yeah, I like to listen. I like when there are many podcasts available with many different topics, many different views, many different things, so that also I can also listen myself. And sometimes I'm not doing that too much, but sometimes I listen to other podcasts to listen to the guests and say, oh, maybe I should invite this guest also to my podcast. So this is also the idea of not stealing, but mainly the idea of getting guests that are really interesting and asking them other questions than the question that the other podcast asked also. And this is the idea of that, which is also interesting for me.
Do you have a dream guest that you would really love to invite if you would ever have the possibility?
not to dream guest, but I have one of my mission in terms of podcasting is to get the views of everybody. So I try to get the views of consultants, even if consultants, as I'm saying, consultants are my direct competitors because I'm also doing consulting, but I don't care. For me, the idea is not about competition. Here is about sharing knowledge, sharing expertise. So I invite a lot of consultants to my podcast, medical device manufacturers also to share their journey on doing the registration, whatever. Notified bodies. I got a lot of episodes with Chief Sud, some episodes with NSAI, and I try to get a lot of other notified bodies, but sometimes it's a bit difficult. But the ones that I was never able to get is a regulatory, an authority, a competent authority, or the European Commission. Those ones are like a bit too far. And each time I ask them, it's oh yeah, I have to ask, or no, it's not possible, or my agenda is full, etc. I mean, this kind of thing. So at the end, it's like in one side, they say we should share a lot about the changes of the regulation, promote that, etc. But when you ask them to come to share that with the people, they are not coming. So there it's like, because I think this is the problem also with media and social media and everything. They think they will be trapped with some questions that are difficult to answer. This and that. When my objective, I tell them, look at all my podcasts. I never ask a tricky question to anyone. I'm not here to put anybody on the spot. I'm not here to make some scandals or critical things, etc. No, I'm just here to educate people. So I'm asking you basic questions. You answer basically, and it's fine. So no need to make it like a difficult thing. But yeah, having those kind of high-level authorities on my podcast would be great. It will be also rewarding to say I have some credibility now in the industry so that I can get this kind of level of people to come. But I know that they want to come. I just know that they don't have the right because they need to ask authorization for people. Because on off, we talk and we discuss, etc. We exchange opinions. And I say, oh, can you come to my podcast? Say, yeah, I will ask, but I'm not sure to get the permission to do that, etc. So this is the thing. But yeah, having those kind of people from the authorities, even from FDA, if somebody from FDA is listening to that, he wants to come also, or from any other authority in the world, if they want to come to share also their knowledge about quality and regulatory affairs, I'm completely open. And the objective is educational content. It's not about making a scandal or making any gossip or anything like that, where to get more views. The idea is not to get more views. The idea is educational only.
Have you ever thought what you would do if you would not have ended up in regulatory or quality? What your alternative life would look like?
As I said, I was looking more like those people I was looking at are more like those Elon Musk or those Steve Jobs or those kind of things. So for me, naturally, I would have went to some entrepreneurship, mainly to find a problem. It's what I'm saying to people. Give me your problem, I'll find a solution. So give me your problem, I'll find a solution. So this is the idea. So I try to find a problem and try to solve it, and by creating a company, a startup, or anything like that. But I think this would have been the thing. Since I was, I left school, this was always my idea to make my own company and my own thing. But at the beginning, people first on my, and it's why you have also to surround yourself with people that are in that way. I never had around me anybody that has done that. So how can I project myself or get inspired or know that it's possible for me, like a small guy that has no kind of revenue or whatever. So how can you make that? So the idea is to surround yourself also with people that have already done that and give you the right advice to do it. And the point is that I didn't have that at that moment. But when I grew up, when I was on my car and etc., I saw some people doing that. I asked them and they told me. And I had one that is my first guest on the podcast, which is Ivan Perez Chamorro from Medbourne. We discussed a lot about that because he was already an entrepreneur. And I asked him, how can I also move to that direction? And he said just to me one thing, he said, you have no choice. You just have to jump. It's like there is no kind of thinking, whatever. You have to jump and move forward and do it because you never know what will happen. I cannot predict anything. It can pass, it cannot pass, etc. But it was the most scariest moment of my life, I can say, to say I will quit salary with a good salary, a good job, etc., to move to entrepreneurship where I have no clue where I'm going. So mainly this is the point. But yeah, the most difficult person to convince was my wife. But now she accepted that idea. It was a long process, but she accepted the idea. And now we are happy and it's working very well. But yeah, if I was not doing that, I would have done the same, but maybe in another field. So it's mainly the idea.
Could you imagine working in another regulated field like pharma or automotive?
Automotive, no. I learned about automotive. I learned about the ISO TR 16464, something like that. So I can't remember because we discussed about
949.
that. Which one?
949.
Yeah, 949. Sorry, yeah. So this is the one that I learned to start during my studies also. Um, I was working for an automotive company, so Peugeot in France, because my father was working there. And during my summer holidays, I had to get some money, so I went there to get some money. To be honest, this was the most boring job I had ever had. It was like, in the rolling chain, and you had some package that are coming, and you have to put them in cartons, close it, and put a sticker on it, and then pass to the next one, etc. So I call that a choreography. So you do a choreography all the day. You know exactly how to. You don't need to look at it at all. You know the sticker is here, the package is here, the thing you make it, etc. So it was really boring. And at the end, I was really wanted to get fired sometime. I say, let me get fired of this job. I hate that, etc. So, but yeah, I saw also some quality people on the job, and their job was to randomly go to each packaging and verify if the content of the packaging was correct or not, and then close it again. So they open it, they check if the content was okay, etc. So I would really like to do that. Instead of my boring job, I said, maybe just, yeah, doing the inspector and go to check packaging, etc. But yeah, at the end, no, I was not liking that. Pharma, I worked for a pharma company in Switzerland. I hated that. Not I hated that. There was no challenge for me. Mainly, pharma regulation is a guided regulation. I call it a guided regulation because it tells you step one, do this, step two, do that, step three, do that. If there is a change, here are the documents that you have to provide. If there is a thing, I mean, it guides you. So anybody that wants to be in the pharma, they just read the regulation and they find exactly what to do because it says if you don't do DCP or MRP or whatever, here is exactly the rule and the consequence for doing that. But in the medical device, you have to be creative. They tell you where to go. They say you need to have a procedure that talks about a selection of suppliers. Okay, great. What should be inside? Think of it. Put whatever you want, but at the end, here is a procedure that should help you to select, manage, etc. your suppliers. And it's sometimes a nightmare because say, what should I put inside? Can you give me an example, etc. So this is the idea of being creative, trying to follow the requirements without knowing all the in and outs, etc. And this is mainly the thing. And I had a lot of people that were in the pharma industry that says, "Oh, Monir, can I come to the medical device field?" I say, "You can, but I'm not think you will be successful because you are already formatted in a way where we give you every step one by one what to do. So if I give you now the medical device, you will ask me how I do this, how I do that." I said, "Even me, I don't know. You have to look for it and you have to think of it, etc." So it was not a challenging job for me working in the pharma industry. So it's why medical device is more enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I think the most annoying part with pharma is that we don't have a European regulation that we follow,
Also,
but that we have national laws. I also used to work in a pharma part for a few months, and this was so challenging because even the codes that you print on the product packaging, there was a different codes for each country. Surprisingly, most of the European countries, they were aligned, and it was only Germany who decided to go for a different system. For me, that was really surprising because I feel that in the medical device field, Germany is putting a lot of effort and they are involved in the MDCG guidance, document drafting, and so on. But this was really, I mean, if you have an own procedure for the approval of the product in each country, this is a nightmare. So
yeah, also advertising. I remember that when I go to different countries in Europe, advertisement was like forbidden for some drugs. But when you go to Germany, I saw advertisement on something saying you can buy that. Say, oh, it's authorized to make this advertisement for some kind of product like that, which was normal, yes, but it was surprising because some other countries are forbidding those kind of things. So yeah, there are some differences, but at the end, yeah, it was. As I said, I preferred medical devices because I'm a chess player, so I like playing chess. So I have to think a bit. I have to know the next moves, how to do this, how to do that. So having somebody telling me from the beginning, you need to move this, there, 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 it's not really enjoyable. I prefer to find my ways myself and maybe it's not the best solution, but it's a solution that is working. So this is mainly the idea also here.
But advertisement is a good keyword, because I think advertisement for medical devices is something that is pretty funny. So first of all, I mean, you have also some national regulations, and I know that in Italy, you need to register all your marketing campaigns and even your social media activity in a database. But what is really funny, because I'm also using social media, quite often I get the advertisement for medical devices where I feel that what they are saying is not really compliant, and it's quite often. And the most funny thing that I was doing was checking IVDs on Amazon, and there you find a lot of funny things.
I see that.
My favorite product is actually, it's a test if you have a tick. The small animals that take your blood, and you are afraid that you could develop Lyme disease. There is an IVD where you could test the tick if it contains the bacteria that will develop the Lyme disease. And it's so funny to go through the comments. From a regulatory perspective, it's a nightmare, that product, but reading the comments is pretty funny, because basically what you have to do is you take the tick and then you have to put it in smaller parts, and then you're able to put a liquid on it, and then you get some kind of testing. And it's obvious that this is a big issue of usability, because I would expect that at least 40% or even much more of the users fail to do this first step properly. So it's really questionable if the result is reliable on that. And that's basically what you can read in the content in the comment section, and it's pretty funny. So I think anyway, usability is one of those fields that can be the most entertaining one when you Google for it.
But it's a good point. I will do that once, just to go to Amazon and just to check all the products that are medical device and look at the comments, what they are saying exactly. I think it will be a funny exercise also. So maybe for people listening, if you do that, tell me if you have a funny one, and then you can share that with us also. Okay, is there anything else that we have to share as a back behind the store, behind the curtain here for podcasting? For me, I think I've said everything. Anything else from your side?
I think we discuss a lot of things.
Mm.
And I think we are all looking forward to the next year and what will come up. Is there a special plan from your side, something amazing that will come up next year from your podcast?
Not really. I had so for the podcast, we had two versions of the podcast. We have the version that is the weekly version, which is more about educative and trying to share expertise and have some guests. And we have the monthly review. So each end of the month, so it's the one that is taking me most of the time. I have to read every regulation that happened that month, that changed that month, and then make a summary to the people in the format of a journal. So this is the idea of sharing that with everybody, so that they don't have to read everything and they have to do. So this is mainly what I'm doing. It's already taking a lot of time, to be honest. So at the end, I didn't had any additional version, but what I wanted, but I don't have time, is to make it also in because I'm speaking also French. So the idea was to make it also in French language, so to have a version for French and invite guests that are speaking only French, etc., for the French speaking community. But yeah, I said it takes a lot of time also, so the idea would be to maybe get that. But what I've changed this year for my podcast is that before, I was doing everything myself on my podcast. So it means that I was doing the recording, the editing, the thumbnail, the images, the promotion, everything was doing. So all my weekends were on that. So I was doing only that during the whole weekend. So this year, I hired somebody to do that for me. So now this year, I just record, I send that to him, I send the information that he should place on the website and things, and then he's doing everything for me, which is a great relief because now I have my weekends, so I can see my kids again. It's been a long time, so 4 years of having my weekends off for that. Now I can go to the football match with them or enjoy some weekend out, which was something that I wanted really to have. So it's why now I hired somebody and said, can you help me on that? So it took some time to train this person to do the right recording and right editing. But this is the thing that changed this year. Next year, for now, there is no plan for changing. We'll continue on the same vein and do the same thing. And as I said, the idea is mainly to have as much people that can share their expertise with their audience as possible. And this is the idea. Anything for you?
I think for also there's not a special plan. So we made a new design of the podcast a few months ago, so that we will continue to stick with that. So that was basically the biggest transition that we had. But we are open for many further questions that are a bit outside of the box and new guests that will share insights of things we didn't consider yet.
Okay, great. Good. So I think it was I hope that people really like the way that we're sharing our behind the scene things. So if there is any comments also from people that are listening, so don't hesitate to put some comments on the channel, on the YouTube channel, or on the I don't know if you can put some comments on Spotify or this kind of thing, but if you can, so let me know. And yeah, if there is any other funny thing that maybe you want also to share about creating a podcast, or maybe some ideas of how we can improve our podcast, I think it would be great also to share that with us. Because yeah, the objective, as I said, for me, is to satisfy the people that are listening the podcast. So if they can give me some ideas of how I can make it better, whatever, that it doesn't take me more time, not more weekend, not more resources, it can be really, really great. Okay. Claudia, Jorg, so thank you very much. I think it was really a great episode where we are making something different than what we are doing on our regular thing. So I will put anyway your podcast link on the show notes, and I will put also mine for people that will be listening from your side. And then, yeah, if there is anything that we can still do again together, maybe another topic or a specific podcast where we can maybe also share some experience, can be also really great. So I really appreciate the time and the effort that we have for this episode. So thank you very much.
Thank you as well. It was really a pleasure to talk to you and to exchange some of the information.
Great. Thank you, Jorg.
And thanks for the opportunity to change the perspectives and roles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's good to be also interviewed and asked about what I'm doing. So it's really, really great. Okay, thank you, everybody, and wish you a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.